The night was dark and moonless, the kind of night that seemed to swallow everything in its path. I was driving down an old winding road that cut through the dense forest. The trees loomed over the road like silent sentinels, their branches casting eerie shadows that danced in the headlights. The radio crackled with static, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I had always enjoyed the solitude of driving at night, the way the road stretched out before me, like a ribbon of endless possibilities. But tonight was different. Tonight, a heavy sense of unease settled over me, like a weight in the pit of my stomach. I tried to brush it off as my imagination getting the best of me, but the feeling persisted, gnawing at my nerves. As I continued down the road, the forest seemed to close in around me, the trees crowding the edges of the asphalt. My headlights illuminated the road ahead, but the darkness beyond seemed impenetrable. I turned up the radio, hoping the music would distract me from my growing unease, but the static only seemed to intensify, crackling and hissing in my ears. I glanced at the clock on the dashboard. It was well past midnight, and I hadn't seen another car for miles. The isolation weighed on me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was completely alone out here. Suddenly, a figure darted across the road in front of me so quick that I barely had time to hit the brakes. My heart raced as I scanned the darkness, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. What had I just seen? A deer? A person? There was no sign of anything now, just the endless expanse of trees and shadows. I cautiously accelerated, my grip on the steering wheel tight as I continued down the road. The static on the radio grew louder, almost drowning out the music entirely. I fumbled with the knobs, trying to tune into a clear station, but all I could hear was the distorted crackling of static. I felt a shiver run down my spine, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. Something was definitely not right. Up ahead, a flickering light caught my attention. I squinted through the windshield and saw what looked like an old, abandoned gas station. Relief flooded over me at the sight of civilization, no matter how run down it appeared. I pulled into the gravel lot, the crunching of the stones under my tires the only sound in the stillness of the night. I stepped out of the car, the cold air sending a shiver down my spine. The gas station was in disrepair, the windows boarded up and the paint peeling off the walls. A sense of unease settled over me once again as I approached the rusted pump. I grabbed the handle and tried to pump gas, but nothing came out. Frustrated, I turned around to head back to my car, and that's when I saw it. A figure stood in the shadows just beyond the reach of the flickering overhead light. My heart pounded in my chest as I squinted, trying to make out any details. The figure was tall and thin, its features obscured by the darkness. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. There was no response, just an eerie silence that seemed to stretch on forever. The figure didn't move, didn't make a sound. I took a hesitant step back, my instincts screaming at me to get back in the car and drive away. As I turned to retreat, the static on the radio suddenly stopped. In its place, a chilling voice echoed through the speakers, sending a jolt of terror through me. "Leaving so soon?" I froze, my blood turning to ice in my veins. The voice was cold and distorted, as if it was coming from another world. I stumbled backward, my heart racing as I fumbled for my car keys. The figure stepped forward into the light, and I saw its face for the first time. Its eyes were hollow, empty sockets that seemed to stare right through me. Its skin was pale and mottled, stretched tightly over its skeletal frame. A crooked grin spread across its face, revealing rows of sharp, jagged teeth. I managed to unlock the car door and practically dove inside, slamming the door shut behind me. I jammed the key into the ignition and turned it, praying that the car would start. The engine roared to life, and I wasted no time in slamming my foot on the gas pedal. As I sped away from the gas station, the figure watched me from the shadows, its hollow eyes following me until I was swallowed up by the darkness of the road. The radio crackled back to life, the static drowning out the sound of my pounding heart. I drove for hours, not stopping until I reached the safety of a well-lit town. The sense of unease never truly left me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had come face to face with something otherworldly that night. Whether it was a ghost, a demon, or something even more sinister, I didn't know. But one thing was certain. I would never forget the night when a simple drive turned into a terrifying encounter with the unknown.